Okay, I'm here with two filmmakers behind the short film Friendship Was a Safe Bet. If you'd just like to introduce yourself and the many roles, by the sound of it, you had in the production, please.
Yes, hi, my name is Nara. I was a writer, producer, director and editor of the short film.
Hi, my name is Carolyn and I played Jen in Friendship Was a Safe Bet.
Fantastic. This is a debut film, so congratulations, fantastic. How does it feel seeing it up there after the journey you've probably had with this film?
Honestly, it's quite surreal, but also it feels like, oh gosh, yeah, it's done, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's a bit of a relief to that as well. And because I did play, I guess I wore so many hats.
Yeah.
It's really not like self-congratulating, but it kind of, it's a bit encouraging to see it on a big screen and you're like, oh, okay, I've made one, maybe I can make more, yeah.
What's both of your journeys sort of to this point in terms of filmmaking? How did you start? Why did you start? What made you want to start?
I guess you go first.
Okay. So I've gone a very up and down journey into film and screen. I started out ballet trained and then went into theatre and did theatre for like 20 plus years, and then when COVID happened, screen was something I'd always wanted to do, and I kind of retrained to go behind the scenes as a PA and then working up to be a third AD, second AD first, and I just got the bug to be more involved in filmmaking and acting on screen, and working with Nara has been brilliant because although she says it's her first one, she's got the most wonderful organisation, planning skills, great way of communicating, and it's been a really nice journey.
How about you, Nara? How did you get it?
Yeah, I started in acting, but didn't really get too far, to be honest, probably for good reasons. And then sort of as part of, so I'm from New Zealand, and then I went on New Zealand has a couple of, it's not like a massive, well, it is now a massive filming destination. You watch Lord of the Rings and all the good stuff. And then when Avatar was filming in Wellington, where I lived, they were looking for just some extras and for people to come around and help out on set. And Wellington's like 300,000 people city. It's really small. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. Like I think I love being on set and just see what it's like. And I think I went there and I was like, oh yeah, this is. It just it's contagious. You love it. And I think for a while I just stayed sort of again around like acting, doing short films and. I think when I moved to London, which was 3 years ago, I was like, I feel like it's a vibe here. Like you can really find people, loads of people doing cool stuff. Yeah. And I was like, I think I'll give it a shot. Yeah.
That's great. And so this film in particular, then, how did the idea come to you? Were there any influences from other material, maybe? Do you want to tell us about that?
100%. As you always are. I actually originally wrote it as part of the competition for New York City Midnight. There's like a 250 microfiction competition, which is actually really hard if you need to write a story in 250 words. Yeah. And then when I wrote it, I was like, oh, it feels like there could be a short film in this. Yeah. And then I sort of thought about this and then just wrote a screenplay. And I was like, I think this kind of works. And then I put it into a couple of script writing competitions because honestly, I didn't even know if I could write. And that kind of did really well. And I was like, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe I'll just make it. And the genre of the film is kind of dramedy, sort of romance, which is I really like kind of character-driven stuff, really kind of grounded stuff. And like Before Sunrise is one of my favorite films. Past Lives, which came out in more recent years, and I just love that idea of people reconnecting after a long time, and it's all so messy. And I was like, can I take these two and translate what I loved about those films into this by adding some really awkward British humour?
Every film's improved by awkward British humour.
I think so.
Carolyn, how did you get involved? What was it about the script that you wanted to get involved?
First off, actually, I saw Nara's post on Instagram, and it had a brief write-up about the piece, and I thought, actually, this character feels very suited to me. I was working in Germany doing a play, and so I did a self-tape with her, and then when I got back from Germany, I had an in-person with Nara and the co-star with me, And in that session, doing only the script, we did some improvisation and spoke about the journey of getting to that script and how they did quite a lot of improvisation around the bones of the piece, and it kind of blossomed out of that. And just being in the room with them, hearing how, because both Dawson, the co-actor, and Nara did that improvisation, it was really nice to hear it coming alive. So it was all still very organic at that stage, even though you had the script and everything in place. The kind of context of it is just so relatable, I think, whatever you're going through in life, from all different perspectives. And I think that was just nice to have a story that everybody could connect to, even if that particular storyline wasn't yours. It was very relatable and just nice, and also got good energy, as I said before, from Nara. That's a good reason to go into a project, I think.
So did you kind of map out a backstory for the characters? Like, is that the kind of thing you brought to it? Yeah.
Yes, I think the story is left quite open intentionally. So myself and Dawson, luckily we had a couple of weeks before we were shooting, so we met in Green Park and got a coffee and just walked around and discussed where we thought our characters came from, why my character had moved to the States, and what that did to the relationship, and basically all the ups and downs that they might have had. So we planted all the background, even though it was never spoken in the script or in the scene. Hopefully just to give it that grounding and connection. And that made it really quite enjoyable for us, I think, on the day as well, to be able to know where each other was coming from. There was no double guessing.
And this might be a bit of a cheat question, but I suppose it's a bit of a kind of, it's subjective, isn't it? Where do you think the characters go after the cameras stop? Have you got any thoughts about that?
I did leave it on purpose, really ambiguous, because I wanted every person to decide for themselves and think about I've got this best friend, and maybe in the worst and best of circumstances, maybe something could have happened. In my mind, I really wanted them to still stay friends, but they've reconnected and they've sort of acknowledged that hurt that they caused each other, possibly not on purpose, but in my mind, it's they're reconnected, they're in each other's lives again, but I don't think something super romantic is gonna go from there. But I've heard so many different versions when, even after the private screening, people come around and be like, is she gonna die? And I was I didn't even think about it.
I'm still here.
I don't know about you, Carolyn. What do you think?
Well, the optimist in me, definitely, not romantically. I feel like there's so much past in history, but the whole thing that made their relationship special in the first place was the connection and the way they were able to communicate. And I would like to think that following their meeting and their parting, they were able to rekindle the core of the relationship to support each other in their life and whatever they were facing.
For you, Nara, what was your favourite hat of all the different things that you got to do on this production? Which was your favourite? And maybe also, which one was your least favourite?
Directing was definitely my most favourite thing. I love working with actors. I love working with the team. When things are happening and you're just all chatting and the ideas coming through, and it just all feels it's such a good energy. I love it. That's probably one of the main reasons I do feel I do film, because it's just so much fun. I do really enjoy writing as well, but I guess it's sort of you find a lot of writer directors I think these days. It's quite you've got the idea and then you bring it to life with other people. I feel like that's such a fun role. Producing comes really naturally to me, because that's kind of what I do for my day job. I work in a tech startup and I do product management, which is a lot of coordinating, talking to people, the money, that kind of stuff. So I can't say I really love it, but I can do that and it's easy. Editing was definitely the hardest part. I think you really need that impartial someone to come in and just take the story apart. I felt like at some point in time, it was a little bit unfortunate, because my editor had to drop out for a much bigger project, and I was just got to do it myself then, I guess. because I really wanted to finish the project. To me, it was really important that the debut project doesn't just sit there and like wait for someone else.
Yeah.
And I was so determined to just get this done that like I picked it up and edited it myself. But at some point in time, I really felt like I could no longer tell whether I was making it better or worse, because that you have so many versions of the story in your head, especially because you wrote it and then you directed it, and then it's like, oh, but this is how we did it on set, and you have all of that, and it's just really hard to become completely impartial. And I think that was probably my least favorite role in this one. Yeah.
Okay. What was a piece of advice that you would, if you go back in time to just before you started making the film, what would you give yourself, something that you learned making the film?
Don't shoot external. That's probably one of the advices. Yeah, because at all of the external scenes towards the end of the day, because we were shooting at the train station, we had no budget to close that train station. We actually went out of London to Kent because that was the only place that was affordable enough, but also kind of quiet. But we just so happened to be there at peak commuting time, so that was a bit terrible. It worked out in the end in the edit, but it definitely there was a bit of like, oh my god, we're going to get this. And it was the last scene, and we're like, we don't have the last scene, we don't have the film.
It was a great challenge for all of us.
Yes, it was a great challenge for everyone to be like, just keep rolling. Let's just like go take after take after take. So yeah, if you can't really think about external scenes really carefully, and get like an editor as early on as possible.
Okay.
Because I also felt like, because it was first time directing, I definitely felt like then after the edit and after everything was done and you kind of step away and you think about it objectively, I was like, oh, I wish I got more coverage here, and I wish I knew how to transition some of the scenes, because I didn't quite know how to do that.
Okay.
And just looking at that now, there's definitely some bits when I'm like, it could have been done better if I just had an extra brain who is a bit more experienced than this.
Or learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Carolyn, is there anything that you learnt, or you tell yourself at the beginning?
I don't think there's necessarily anything new that I learned, but it did just kind of solidify the fact that having the right team around you is so vitally important.
Yeah.
I mean, the team that Nara brought together, you didn't really know anybody to begin with, and
I didn't know anyone.
it was a wonderful combination of people, and fortunately I've seen, like, from PAing and stuff on really big features and big budget stuff, seeing when a team really know each other and how the cogs will turn, it's so inspiring. And for such a small scale project, in comparison there were so many similarities to that, and I think a lot of the time when you watch somebody's film, if something's not quite landing, if you actually get to meet the team and see how it all ran, I do think that is part of the foundations and really affects the end product.
Here's a random question. If both of you could collaborate with anyone, an actor, an actress, someone in production, director, writer, who would you like that to be?
So many. First actress I can think of that I'd love to work with is Sarah Paulson. I think she's such an interesting actress, and always just like 1,000% in. It's just like, oof. Yeah, I think she'd be incredibly interesting to work with.
I really like the screenwriter Aaron Sorkin. Like, I love a lot of his stuff. If I could just get some wisdom from him, that would be amazing. But in terms of actors, there's so many great ones. Jesus, it's really hard to choose. I'm blanking now.
Put you on the spot now.
It's such a good question. I feel like there's a New Zealand Samoan actor. Her name is Rose Matafeo. She's a comedian as well. She did, I think, a TV series in the UK called Starstruck, and she's just so funny. I feel like I would love to work with someone like her.
So final question, what's coming up next? Have you got any plans to revisit this in 7 years' time, kind of like a before sunset, sunrise thing? Or are you done with this story now and you're going to move on to something else?
In the similar sort of genre, I wrote a feature film that is at the moment is being considered for the Sundance Lab, one of their labs.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I get it, but at least the feature is written, and it's like, yeah, okay, that's another milestone, so that's really cool. But we're currently in crowdfunding mode, and we're almost there, for the next short film, which is very different to Friendship Was a Safe Bet. I think Friendship Was a Safe Bet was very much kind of like one-off sort of piece of work. The next short is much closer to, I think, what I do as a job. It's about a startup, a tech company, and the ecosystem in which I guess those people operate, as well as how much tech companies have influence on politics and labour laws in the UK. So it's tackling very, very different sort of genre, very, very different like topic. But I always think that the films are best when they come from the place of like it's got something personal. You learn about this sort of like from the insider perspective, and that's I guess what the next short film is all about.
8 days left of funding.
Yeah.
Anybody? Myself. I want to meet as many new budding filmmakers as possible. Find my tribe for the future. I'm also very interested in directing, hence why I did some assistant directing. So maybe I'll put some wheels in motion to create some of my own work, which would be good, so I can start that learning curve. At the moment, my focus is very much just getting more and more comfortable on screen, so that when I do eventually do some nice grounded projects, I'm able to help the actors as much as I can from my own experience from being both sides of the camera.
Okay, thank you so much for submitting your film. Congratulations on it, both of you.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome, especially as a first time film. Amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So congratulations, and thank you very much for coming today and representing it.
Thank
And
you. Thanks for having
thank you very much. Give a round of applause, please, for our filmmakers.